Hi guys, welcome back to a brand new, what is normally Reddit reactions video. Hello girls, hello guys, what is the tea? What is the Darjeeling?
Does it have gout?
Does it have gout? I'm joined today with the gorgeous, stunning, the fabulous Lixeria.
Thank you. I'm here and we are a little bit queer. We're ready to go, girls.
We don't want any more bears.
No, no more bears.
Today we are here to do a part 2 of a video that we did a little while ago about jobs that no longer exist. However, today we are going to be focusing on the more disturbing and disgusting jobs from like historical medieval times, some from the early 1800s.
I can't wait to hear more about dung.
And more.
Everyone loved dung.
Everyone loved dung. They were all scat people. So, anyway.
The scandal girls.
Anyway, guys, we're not going to joke or anything. Joke?
We're not going to joke today. This is a serious video about history.
I'm a jock. Anyway, guys, let's not beat around the bush and get straight on to these jobs. End scene. This is called Tosha. During the Victorian era in London, people called Toshers would make a living by breaking into the city's sewage system and searching for coins, scraps of metal, pieces of bone, or anything else that they could find of value. Toshers earned what today about $50, which put them at the same level as working class. Entering into sewers became illegal in 1840, and people who caught others breaking the law were offered a reward, which discouraged the sewer divers.
Sewer divers.
Disgusting.
That sounds like an excellent insult. It's like, why don't you leave me alone, you sewer diver?
The thing is, it also, like, although this job seems absolutely horrific to do, it also is very telling of the time that, like, people in those days were so poor that they had to, like, do this as their job. Like, their job was to go into the sewer to find scraps of, like, bone and like metal to sell to other people. Like, that's horrific. Like, what a time to be alive where that was a thing that you'd actually like. And they had a name, a Tosha.
Not only were they like desperate to like make any amount of money, then the government stepped in and was like, we're going to legislate out your career actually, so you can't do that anymore. So actually, instead of actually being like having a shred of income available to you, nothing now. Actually. And we're not going to replace it with anything because you shouldn't be doing that.
No.
Awful.
I feel like
Tosha.
Although I do feel like people now still have a slight negative attitude towards people who are less off. I feel like back in those days, it really was like, you are scum.
Well, a lot of it was based on religion, wasn't it, at the time, where it's being like, well, I'm blessed by God, so you're obviously not blessed by God because you're not doing as well as me, therefore you're living the righteous lifestyle.
Oh, it's really sad.
It's really sad. And just think, probably some of our ancestors were Toshers.
Yeah.
If you're British, most likely, actually.
Toshy washy. This one, just the name alone is disgusting.
This is quite the scandal.
Yep, scandal.
Roman vomit collectors. Need I say any more? Everyone knows how extravagant and decadent Roman banquets could be. There were multiple courses and lots of wines to be consumed, and feasting lasted all night long. But how did these people manage to eat non-stop for so long? Well, according to Seneca, the Romans vomited so that they could eat, and they ate so they could vomit. However, most Romans didn't feel it was necessary to leave the dining room in order to vomit. For this reason, they usually had bowls lying around, especially for this purpose. But other times, they would just bend over and puke all over the floor. Who would think that there was a slave whose job description was to crawl around on all fours under the dining couches and mop the mess up? This unfortunate person was called a vomit collector. Can we just bask for a second?
I don't have words to even express the contempt I have.
I am so glad that that is not a thing anymore. Well, as far as I know, it's not a thing anymore.
We do it all the time, constantly,
yeah.
Lots of
Netto ladies on the game.
But like the idea that there's like loads of them sitting around this long ass table, they're all eating curds and whey, and then they suddenly go, do you know what? I really want to eat more, so
time to bleed.
I'm just gonna vomit on the floor. Like, in front of all the food, just on the... Hello. Like...
And we continue.
Surely it would just, like, stink.
If someone is, like, legitimately doing that near me, I'm, like, 1 second away from doing the exact same in the same immense force of being like, no, I have to leave immediately.
Completely
So the
agree.
idea of, like, let's all have a feast. And then just one person is like, bleh. And the rest, everyone's like, time to throw up, everybody. Like, how awful is that?
Vile.
Absolutely weird. According to this story, it became like the culture of the time. Like, everyone was
that was the hot thing to do.
Go to a feast. How much can you throw up, girls? Like, that does not sound healthy.
Absolutely unacceptable.
Unhinged. No hinge to begin with.
Jesus.
We're on the sun, girls.
Why won't it stay still?
This one's called Breaker Boy.
Let's not make it like that.
This one's called Breaker Boy. A Breaker Boy was a young coal miner who was tasked with separating impurities from coal. The Breaker Boys were often as young as 5 and would work up to 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. Love that for
Jesus
everyone.
Christ.
Disgusting.
5?
5 years old, 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. The work was extremely dangerous, and many children lost fingers or limbs in factory machinery.
Oh,
Goodbye,
my
goodbye,
God.
everybody. A member of the National Child Labour Committee took photographs of the Breaker Boys, which promoted the public to demand that labour laws be reformed and include children.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Scandal. Do you know, that is absolutely, that's one of the things that's like really quite frightening, because if that's in like I'm guessing that's like Victorian times, like, you know, what's the Industrial Revolution time?
Yeah.
Like, that's not that long ago.
When we were children, the things that you could get away with then are so different to what it is now.
Yes.
So let alone then minus another like 100 years from that.
Obviously, families were so poor at the time that they had to send
to
their
do it.
children into the workforce at 6,
Yeah.
5 and 6 years old. Like, what were you doing at 5? I was absolutely not in a
I have
place where I could
absolutely no idea
operate
what I was doing.
machinery at 5 years old.
No.
I was like, Santa.
My granddad wouldn't even let me use his camcorder.
There you go.
I was always like, can I
wasn't
use it?
allowed
He was
to
like,
boil.
no.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to boil the kettle until I was 12. It's going to be, again, in our history. We're probably related to somebody who
Yeah.
lost an arm or fingers or limbs or
Yeah.
whatever at the limb mime.
At the limb
The
device.
limb mime.
So this is called Herbster. In the 16th and 17th century, royal families would employ a herbster whose job would be to cover up odours both outdoors and indoors using fresh herbs.
Oh, yes!
However, when sewer systems and plumbing became more advanced and controlled, the perfumes were invented, the jobs were no longer needed. You talked about in the last one about the herbs that are in like the plague like the plague doctor's masks. When I think about this kind of stuff, all I think about these days is just everything stinking.
Oh, yeah, well, they had no deodorant, so imagine everyone would have been like, hello, I'm rot.
And how
actually."
often did they wash? Like, how
Never.
was it easy to like wash yourself?
No, because all the water was filthy as well. Don't
Yeah.
forget, they had no like water pasteurization techniques. But to add on to this, so Herbster, I know in Victorian England before the more sort of like middle to upper classes, if they wanted to like impress people, they would carry bags of lavender like into their like suits and places. So when
Oh.
they walked around, they'd be like, I smell like lavender. Look
Can
at me.
you stop wafting your
Waft my
lesbian lips
lavender,
in me?
lavender. And apparently that was like the first ever forms of like deodorant, like carryable deodorant, was just carrying like a bag of lavender around.
wow.
But also, don't you like bees like lavender? So
Ooh.
would you just been like, I've got the bees!
I've got bees that help me, girl. Sting me,
bees,
sting me,
sting
sting me.
me.
Tug at my fur.
Ooh, this one's called Crossing Sweeper Girl.
Oh.
In the 19th century, so that's the 1800s, just so we're on track, you know, maths. When the streets were frequently dirty, littered, and filled with sewage, people would hire crossing sweepers to sweep a path ahead of pedestrians as they walked down the street. Wealthy citizens would readily pay sweepers to protect their long skirts or articles of clothing to prevent contact with manure. A crossing sweeper was considered one step above a beggar. God, many people took up the profession, because starting the business would cost nothing more than a broom. Oh, sorry. That was your phone, sorry, smash! I'm sick of the dung. I'm sick of it.
Why is everything feces? I mean, everything just smells. Like, why can't they like at least like put the shit in the feces like in a little pot or like in like a where's the drainage? Like,
Well, they didn't have drains. That was what a sewer system is.
But was it not like a divot in the side of the road or something?
It probably
Like-
got overfilled
like-
by the course of the morning, let alone like a few hundred years. The only thing I'm getting from like all these stories is like when the sewer systems was invented, how many people were left out of work?
Yeah.
Oh my god, like
literally
the entire workforce
yeah.
was just like, oh, no
And
income now.
they've all had. Then that's when they all went to be toshers because they
Yeah.
they went from like city sweepers.
But then
to
that was
toshers.
made illegal,
That was
so they
made
were just
illegal,
one
yeah.
step above beggar.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? What is that? Awful. So awful.
So this one is called the Sin Eater.
Oh, very me.
Apart from being a name that's totally effing mental, and that has been used for comic characters in books and movies, the whole process of sin eating is rather disturbing. Traditionally performed in the 19th century Europe, a sin eater was an outcast, poor, and shunned by everyone for their profession, who was only sought out once a person had died. It was a sin eater's job to absorb all the sins of the dead person in order to let them get into heaven, exchanging their own eternal torment for a ludicrously small sum of money. Ludicrously small sum of money. When they were hired, a piece of food and a bowl of drink were passed over the dead, absorbing their sins, which the sin eater would then devour. The logic is that the sin would pass into the social outcast and the dead could ascend freely.
Is it me?
It's
Am
you,
I
like
the
you
drama?
are the
Sin eating. Okay, I found my profession of history.
But,
They,
like-
just arrive with like a hat on and being like,
What's the weird thing is there's something quite disturbing about this actually, because of when this was, religion was incredibly heavy and the fear of like hell and damnation was terrifying.
oh, it was like it was
terrifying.
the whole point of life.
So
Wasn't
the
it?
fact that someone would opt in to do this
Is socially
is
outcast.
horrific. The fact that
Insane.
you're in such a position where like you're doing this.
Very me, very on brand for me. Love that.
I just find
could be-
I just
could
find
be
it quite
sin eating.
sad.
It is quite sad. I don't like the idea it's for a ludicrously small amount of money. You'd think like anyone would be like, take all of my money, I can't go
Yeah,
to
exactly.
hell, girls.
Yeah,
like, do you know what I
exactly.
mean? Like everyone would have been like, blaze, blaze. But then like, wasn't there also that thing in like Roman Catholicism that's just like, I accept Jesus into my heart on your deathbed, and then you just immediately go to heaven?
I don't know. I'm not religious, babe.
I am not religious either, but I was brought up religious in schools, and I remember hearing something like this.
I thought
don't
you
know.
were a nun.
Yes, I am. I'm actually Valak.
Yeah.
Give me your sins, girl. This one is called Whipping Boy. Are we ready?
Sounds a bit, yeah.
It does sound a bit awful, doesn't it? The term whipping boy and the related concept of a scapegoat has now just become a phrase that we bandy about without realizing that it was a very real thing not too long ago, children. It arose in the 15th and 16th century when the divine right of kings was very real, and no one was seen as being able to punish misbehaving princes. You can't, if the king's son is going to be the king and they've done something wrong, you can't punish the king's son.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Evil. So
So
what
they're going to
did the
bring
king-
someone else in.
What did the king's son always have? A best friend. Sure, their fathers could, but said kings were usually off ruling the country and bonking courtesans and didn't give a rat's ass about their children's education. Rather than punish the princelings, which they weren't allowed to do, a whipping boy was used and all the punishment was reaped onto them.
That's so horrific.
Usually the boy was a high-ranking noble who was raised with the prince and as their only friend.
Disgusting.
The
disgusting.
ensuing bond making the prince feel horrible when the whipping boy was punished. So it's like punished by proxy almost. Which was markedly less effective if the prince was a sociopathic, rich asshole who didn't care about the suffering of others.
Most of them,
Nearly
then.
every
Yeah.
royal person ever. Absolutely disgraceful. But this kind of like whipping boy concept still kind of exists. Like if you think about the scapegoat that happens in some families, like there's always like, not always, but like quite often you hear about a child that's just like takes the brunt of the family wrath for no
Yeah.
reason. A recent meta-analysis came out about like actually like laying your hands on your children as a form of punishment. It does not work.
Of course it doesn't
we
work.
can categorically say now it does not function and you need to do other forms of readjustment.
Yeah. All you teach your children when you hit them is that it's okay to hit
Violence.
someone
Yeah.
when you get angry.
It actually instills behavioural problems and antisocial behaviours
Yeah.
as an adult.
Yeah. If you hit an adult, you get done for assault. If you hit a child, it's fine.
Weird. It's because they're not people. The next one is called Leather Tanner. Oh, it's a little bit like me at the moment. isn't
yes,
it? I'm a
leathery skin.
Leather tan
Yes,
girl.
you're gonna be my handbag.
Oh, very designer. One
Yeah.
of a kind.
Very leather face.
For centuries, tanners were reviled around the world, even for doing incredibly important work. In India, only the untouchables could do it, and all through Europe, they were forced outside of cities due to the horrible, horrible stench that they produced. Why was it so vile? Excrement! Excrement! Lots and lots of excrement. The hunters would give the tanners the skin, still bloody with chunks of meat and fat attached. They would be soaked in water to remove all of that nonsense, leading to a pool of rotting meat.
Ugh.
Then the hair had to be removed, either by soaking the skin in urine or letting it hang to rot and then cutting it off with a knife. After that came the soaking in a slurry of feces and water.
Why?
And kneading them in it to soften the skin for hours at a time.
That was how you soften skin, to knead things in feces.
Well, do you know why?
Why?
It's literally filled with like bacteria that eats whatever
Oh my
it
God.
can get on. For hours at a time. After that, it was stretched, dried, and sold. But as you can imagine, the combined stink of rotting flesh, urine, and feces, that's the life of a tanner.
Disgusting.
Dung. Everything in history. It was almost like the hot commodity to buy today, girls. Get your faces. 3 for £69.
It's from
Make
the king,
anything.
therefore it's
yeah.
royal shit.
Yeah, sell it down the sewers, sell it to the old woman down the street, sell it to the nuns, make leather with it.
So this one's called arming squires. Okay, so arming squires were in charge of keeping knights' armor up to scratch even when he was using it. You know those people who remove and replace tires on Formula 1 cars? The faster, the more they can drive, yeah? So when they go in the little cockpits and that things. Well, an arming squire was basically the medieval equivalent of that. Their job involved maintaining, fixing, and applying a knight's armor, sometimes mid-battle. And no, they didn't wear any armor themselves as they rushed into the scuffle. To add insult to injury, arming squires also had to remove the blood, sweat, mud, and other mess from the armor able to fight. Oh, and of course they were given aged urine as a cleaning agent.
Of course they were, because, you know, ammonia, the only cleaner apparently in the history of time.
Can you imagine, though, being like, I need to fix my armor, quick, come in, and your person just gets murdered because you've made them come into battle?
But also then what would you do? You'd be like, I'm still covered in shit, girls.
I pissed in my armor, so now...
Oh, suck it out the foot.
This is what I find so strange. It's like people genuinely did not have empathy for anyone back then.
There's actually an interesting concept to suggest that humans have only developed empathy over the last 100 years.
That's awful.
Which doesn't sound great, does it? And I have a
But
feeling...
it makes sense.
It does.
Hearing things like that and what other things we have in this
Children down the
photo.
mines to lose their limbs.
Yeah.
Like, it just makes you go, oh yeah, no one cared for anyone. Everyone was like, I'm gonna die, it's all about me.
I do, it's just like, I don't
It's
get
scary,
it.
isn't
To
it?
be like, you have to come and fix my armor while I'm battling people and you don't get any armor yourself. You have to come out completely exposed to fix my problem. It just feels like everyone just feels like everything was just self-centered, selfish.
Well, it was all based around royalty, wasn't it? All royal. Like, the knights only fought for the royal family at that time in that battle, so it was all very much like, I'm chosen by God, so obviously I'm not going to get stricken. Come and clean me. I'm sure that the knight was in somewhat of a relationship with the squire, because it was almost like daddy and twink situation.
Oh, God.
I'm pretty sure I remember reading something in history that was like, actually, we think that this might have been a thing, because there was no real reason for a squire to, like, suffer their life for it.
Yeah.
And there was, like, an element of, like, reward, sort of like sugar daddying, sort of like loving relationship.
Yeah, there was
kind
no
of thing.
loving in that.
No. The next one is called Link Boy. Why am I getting all the boy ones? Ridiculous. In 17th century London, what was that? 17th century? 1600s?
1600s.
Before streetlights were commonplace, young boys looking to make money would be hired at night to light torches and walk people home from taverns or other places. Sometimes Link Boys would lead patrons into dark alleyways where robbers would be waiting in the shadows. Oh, it's like the knocker-uppers return of the mugging.
It almost feels a bit predatory, but like...
It's a child.
Why are you making a child do a job that's dangerous for children to do? I just can't imagine like having a child and being like, yeah, I'm gonna make you go to see all the drunk people and you've got to take that drunk person home. Take the adult home.
I know.
Like, the adult can take themselves home.
We live in such an interesting time now where we actually like respect like children's autonomy to be like, you are actually a child, like you can't possibly do the things that we expect adults to do.
Yeah.
This is practically a bodyguard role.
Yeah.
Like, to get, like, who has a bodyguard now? Definitely not any of us. Imagine being like, oh, I'm too drunk at the pub. I need that adult to come take me home.
Hello, Bonchi.
Like,
Come take me home.
Yeah, hello, help me go. I mean, it's kind of like Uber, but also like, they don't care.
No. So what was your most shocking one of the video? I think Vomit Collector, the story behind Vomit Collector is probably
that's
the most...
pretty awful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, just disgusting. Oh, it's
Mass people
vile.
vomiting together to eat more food. It just
Also,
seemed-
the tanners was quite
The
right.
tanners,
The
yeah.
idea of being like, what was it, a rotten slurry of feces and water and
to-
urine.
Yeah, urine, everything.
Everything in the history just stank.
Well,
Everyone was
the thing
rotten.
is, I bet as well,
What?
was just to add disgustingness to the story, I bet like when these people were doing it, because they were just like submerged in it, they would just shit themselves. Like if they needed to go, they were like, I'm just gonna shit here, why not?
Oh.
Like, can you imagine? They're just like,
Whose
yeah.
species was it? We didn't even know.
No.
No, it could just be anything, couldn't it?
These were some more disgusting jobs in history. Please let us know down below what are your favourites from this video, or if you know any other ones that we haven't spoke about, this one in the last one.
Please.
If you didn't watch our first one, please go and watch
Check
the
it
first
out.
one. It's a lot less disgusting. This was more filthy, so it's not as
I don't know how you're going to brand it.
No, I'm
It's
not,
like,
no.
Disgusting, girls.
Disgusting. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos coming up. Hit the like button because it's really, really helped me out. And leave some comments down down below. Pushes everything in the algorithms. Thank you, Lixeria.
Make sure you follow Roly on Twitch
Okay,
as
come
well.
follow me on Twitch at Roly West. And thank you for Lixeria to be on the channel.
That's the right,
Thanks for
my
coming.
lovely friend. I was about to say my girlfriend.
Oh,
That's the right girlfriend.
girlfriend.
We're getting married.
Yeah, we are. Yeah,
We're gonna
yeah.
have dung.
Yeah. Shut up. A massive thank you to my lovely patrons whose names you can see on the screen here. And next a special shout out to my top tier Patreons. Amanda Payton, Austin Fielden, Booster93, Bennett, Casey, Cassie Hill, Cat Human, Kerry Evans, Chill Herman, Christopher John, Robbie, Corin Pemberton, Demetri Tettle, James Burgess, Jessica MG, Jonya Price, Caitlin Wright, Cattell, Kelly Bowser, Chloe Louise, Lucy Robbins, Crisp, Megan Holly, Morriganey Wolf, Sammy Patterson, Steffi Tech, and Sus Mac. Thank you for being my top tier patrons. There's a link down below if you'd like to go on page as well. And yes, thank you guys. I'll see you very soon. Lots of love. Be fabulous, be gay, be everything you want to be, and don't let any bitches that say that you can't be. Why is that?
Because you don't want any dung near you.
No, you don't
Stop
want it.
all of
You
that.
don't want
Absolutely
to. No,
disgusting.
no.
No more dung.
No more dung. Wunderfably, eh?